The latest episode of What If gave us a cursory glimpse into one of perhaps the most formidable antagonists that Marvel has ever put to screen to date. Though we haven't seen much of him just yet, we got a glance at a being who we will be calling Infinity Ultron, until he is canonically given another name. Infinity Ultron seems to be an amalgam of the Vision and Ultron, who managed to collect all 6 of the Infinity Stones, and in his few seconds of screen time, he managed to not only confuse the Almighty Watcher, but also marched his army of Ultron drones through a wormhole in the Party Thor's universe. The introduction of Infinity Ultron has left viewers with several questions regarding his creation and origin, as well as how he managed to obtain the Infinity Stones, and specifically how he managed to get his hands on the elusive Soul Stone. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we delve into exactly how we believe Ultron was able to get a hold of the Soul Stone, as well as some of the theories touching on his origins and intention. The primary theory for Infinity Ultron's origin is that he comes from a universe wherein the primary Ultron was successful in transferring his consciousness into the Vision's body at the end of Age of Ultron. If Ultron was able to inhabit the Vision's vibranium body, he may have been able to defeat the Avengers of his universe, and accomplish his goal of repopulating the Earth with his own machines. This also goes a very long way in explaining how he got the Soul Stone, which quite famously demands a sacrifice from its user. While it's very possible that Ultron gained the abilities of intergalactic space travel through the remains of Tony Stark and NASA's vast resources, and throughout the years was able to seek out and gather the Infinity Stones, we believe we have a simpler solution to propose to you all. If Ultron and his hive were the primary inhabitants of Earth, then it stands to reason that this was the force by which Thanos was met upon his arrival to Earth on his own personal hunt for the Infinity Stones. If we assume that all the Avengers perished around the time of the events of Age of Ultron, then that would have given Ultron around 3 years to assemble his own defense force and create a legion of drones and machines. This would also mean that most, if not all of humanity was wiped out by the Sokovian meteor, leaving Earth to become a barren wasteland. When Ebony Maw and Cole Obsidian later land in New York City during the events of Infinity War, then instead of being met by Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and the sorcerers of Kamar-Taj, they would instead be welcomed by a legion of Ultron's minions. We know that Thanos is highly likely to come to Earth at some point, be it to search for the Mind Stone like he did at Infinity War, or to search for the Time Stone on his new timeline where Doctor Strange never meets him on Titan. However, and this part is really important, we also know that Thanos collected the first 4 stones before ever setting foot on Earth or coming into contact with Doctor Strange, meaning that when he arrives on Earth in this new timeline, he likely already has possession of the Soul Stone from sacrificing Gamora on Vormir. If this is the case, then Ultron would be holding the Mind Stone in his possession, as he is now inhabiting the body of the Vision, and it's possible that he obtained the Time Stone from Doctor Strange and the remains of the Sanctum Sanctorum after his supposed demise at the end of Age of Ultron. Though the whereabouts of the Time Stone fluctuate according to this theory as to whether or not Thanos or Ultron has it, we know that Thanos does not have all 6 when he comes to Earth, and could very well be overwhelmed by Ultron's forces that have been constantly growing in power and building their numbers in the 3-year gap between the second and third Avengers entries. The important thing to remember in this theory, and what we personally believe, is that Ultron actually did not seek out the Infinity Stones across the cosmos directly, but rather that he grew to know about the stones, but that Thanos was the one that brought the 4 remaining stones to him, likely as Ultron planned, not that he actually left Earth and searched for all of the stones personally, as this would not make sense. The time span across which Age of Ultron takes place is a rather short period of time, with some sources citing a few days and others citing just over a week. But in this rather short span of time, Ultron was able to assemble an army of drones large enough to lay siege to Sokovia. He was able to hijack the Iron Legion, construct machines that would later turn the nation of Sokovia into a makeshift meteor, and commission the construction of Vision and acquisition of vibranium, all while still constructing his armada of mechanical soldiers. If he was able to make this much progress in roughly a week's worth of time, it stands to reason that 3 years is more than enough time for him to assemble an adequate earthly defense force that could fight off the likes of even Thanos, his Black Order, and either his 4 or 5 of the Infinity stones that he collected. As a side note, when you think of Ultron like this, he becomes far more intimidating and impressive. Ultron, a week after gaining sentience, became a viable threat to the entire population of Earth as well as its mightiest heroes in the form of the Avengers. Imagine what Ultron could do in 3 years. Once Thanos hypothetically crumbles, the stones would be Ultron's for the taking. And seeing as Tony Stark's technology was capable of creating a gauntlet capable of harnessing the stones, it stands to reason that Ultron could create a chassis which could serve the same purpose. We can also take into account the idea that the nation of Wakanda likely fell in the invasion, and as a result of the Sokovian meteor. While it's possible that their shielding technology was able to save them from the initial impact, given that Ultron knows the value and potential of vibranium, it stands to reason that he would turn his sights on Wakanda at some point during his 3-year span, in order to upgrade himself as well as his armada. Even if he didn't know for a fact that he would find vibranium in Wakanda, it's logical that this would be the first place he would look given his dealings with Ulysses Klaue. If the Wakandans were able to somehow survive due to their technology, it would not be surprising to find out that they too fell victim to Ultron's wrath, and that now the great vibranium meteor belongs solely to Ultron. Given vibranium's propensity for its energy absorption and retention, he would likely find that vibranium is not only extremely durable, but a perfect choice of material to harness the power of the Infinity Stones. Uru is another metal that is highly conductive and is able to store vast amounts of energy, which is what made it so appealing to Thanos when he commissioned the construction of the first Infinity Gauntlet. It therefore stands to reason that since vibranium shares many of the same energy absorbing qualities, Ultron would look to this metal to create his next prime body, which he would go on to house the 6 Infinity Stones. But the basis of the theory is that Ultron himself never actually sacrificed anything that he loved. Many people had speculated that it was actually Vision that sacrificed Wanda in order to get the Soul Stone, and that Ultron and Vision were one and the same. However, we disagree with this, and we believe that this reality actually branched was when Ultron managed to successfully upload his consciousness to the being that we know as the Vision, before Vision's heart could actually be mixed with that of the Mind Stone, Tony Stark, as well as Bruce Banner. We believe that it was actually Thanos that brought the Soul Stone directly to Ultron, as we know that the Soul Stone actually requires a sacrifice to remove it off of Vormir. However, as we saw in Avengers Endgame, the Soul Stone was actually used in tandem with the other stones with Tony Stark, who was not the individual that made the exact sacrifice on Vormir. That was of course Hawkeye. The same can be said for Professor Hulk. Although he wielded all 6 of the stones, including the Soul Stone, he was not the one that actually sacrificed Black Widow on Vormir. Therefore, the logic does work that the Soul Stone can actually be passed after it's been obtained. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Do you think Infinity Ultron got the stones by defeating Thanos and his Black Order? Or do you think he traversed the universe in search of them himself? What would you guys like to see from Infinity Ultron as the What If series continues? And do you think that he will show up again as potentially the main antagonist?